you can even see the knockdown is very similar with our physics. So I just wanted to show you your hard work, and it's paying off. So thank you so much. Yes, thank you.
Man, oh man. So this is the first leaked gameplay that we get from UFC 6. That's interesting. That's interesting to say the least. Now, a lot of people are saying different things. Oh, that's just UFC 5. I see some people saying that's UFC 5 pre-alpha, etc., which just doesn't make sense in my opinion. I think that is UFC 6 gameplay that they're working on. I think, honestly, there's a possibility we might be getting a reveal this weekend, with that. Honestly, that's kind of crazy, but let's break down a bit of what we just seen. So, first of all, I do want to mention the fact that, in my opinion, I think the knockdown, I'm sorry, it looked the exact same for me. Like, that's not something crazy that I don't think that's anything I wouldn't see in a UFC 5 ranked match, So that's why it's kind of, I don't know how I'm feeling about it. I feel like I've seen that knockdown animation before. What I'm looking forward to, I want stiff knockouts, as well as different knockout animations to come back. So, if you knock out somebody with a good shot, there's a chance that they go stiff. Those animations would be hard for bragging rights purposes, obviously, because if you get stiff KO, you can't really talk shit. But so that was the first thing. I was looking at the knockdown. I'm like, yeah, okay. I was also looking at the health bar. It looked like they might have changed a little bit of the UI. Some people says it looks like UFC 5, but what I'm seeing is that I think I'm seeing, when I look at it closely, like they changed the cuts to where they're in like not pentagon, like hexagons or something like that. I might be tripping, but that's what I saw. I'll put it here in the video and show you what I'm thinking. I think that they kind of changed the UI a little bit, and a bit of the HUD, and the health display. I think they might have changed that a little bit, but besides that, in the video, what this tells me in general is the fact that I still think UFC 6 is going to be going in the wrong direction. It's going to help player needs, but not in the way that's going to help the game competitively thrive. I think what UFC 6 is going to do is, as far as animations, they're going to try their best, I believe, to make a lot of unique animations for fighters, like people asked. But at the end of the day, I don't care what animation hits my opponent. You know what I'm saying? Like, it gets old over time. There's only so many times you can see the 3 or so variations of a punch. Maybe for sim fighters, that's cool, but that's not really enough to keep a player base. Like we have a bunch of fighters who have sim, mechanics, animations. That's never kept anybody on those characters, like the Dom Cruz, TJ. That doesn't make anybody want to go a Dom Cruz or a TJ. At the end of the day, people want to use usable fighters. How do you make usable fighters? Fixing the gameplay and stat and style balancing. That is what they need to be working on. They need to make every single style in the game have its perks. Okay? Like, if I'm kickboxing, I should have different perks compared to someone who's going heavy boxing, heavy grappling, whatever. That's what they need to be working on, much rather than animations. I could care less what animations we get, honest to God. That's me personally, because I'm a competitive, actual sim player. I feel like some people, when they say sim, they're looking at like the outer surface. How does everything look? Right? How does everything look? Does he calf kick like Alex Pereira? No. Oh, this game is so shit. Boo, 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 boo. Right? That's not what I'm looking at. When I see and talk about sim, I'm talking about techniques. I'm talking about game balancing. Stuff like that. I mean, you all keep saying that you want unique animations and stuff, but like, you all also said that you wanted alter egos, and now you guys are kind of like, oh, no, well, we don't really want them like that. You guys are trying to use that instead of making the game better. At the end of the day, they need to focus on gameplay. Like, that's it. You know, they focus on the gameplay. Everything else can come, bro. I don't care about an animation, you know. Balance the game and make sure that you don't have to do 100 patches post-launch. That's my whole thing that I pray that they work on. Okay? So with this and seeing this, it gives me a bad feeling that UFC 6 is going to make up for a lot of flaws in the game by having a bunch of YouTube. I said YouTube, so I was reading something. Having a bunch of new animations for fighters. I see that happening a lot. And I see that that's going to happen. Is that something I'm excited for? Not in the slightest. I personally don't care about animations. Okay? That's just me, right? Because you really do have two types of players when you talk about the UFC, EA Sports UFC franchise. You have the sim UFC fans, right? People who are actual fans of the UFC, and people who are fans of the game and the competitive scene can be fans. But even those players, for example, when Alter Ego comes out, we look at, okay, is this like a more usable version of my favorite fighter? If you make like a 4-star version of one of my favorite fighters, only reason I'd be happy is because, okay, now I can use Dustin Poirier in PT, right? Because he's 4 stars now. All right, and if you don't know what PT is, it's a whole league. That's whatever. I'll make a video on it. But more into that, this like leak doesn't really make me excited. It has nothing to do with the outer look. It's just because of the fact that I think that they're going to be trying to, I think this time instead of, because last game or this game, they focused a lot on the alter egos and how the fighters looked, the blood and stuff, and that was cool, right? It keeps me, I never care for that. The gameplay is what I believe is what's going to keep this game alive, right? And I hope and pray that they don't use, I do believe animations count as like aesthetics and cosmetics, because at the end of the day, it doesn't change the fight. The only thing it changes, quote unquote, immersion. And you're not going to be immersed, right, if that hook doesn't matter because somebody slip chains away from it or something, right? And we have the same problems we have right now. So my hope is that this is just a plus and it's not where the new focus is going to be for the UFC franchise, and that they don't use this as a cop-out or an excuse to say that they've improved things, you know? And for everybody else, just be honest with yourself, because a lot of you are asking for things, and when you get it, I trust you, it's not going to be the same. And you're like, man, honestly, man, we should have just gotten a better game, bro. We keep asking for animations, unique animations, woo, 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 right? And now you get it, and you play it a few times, and it's the same exact game, and then you realize that that animation really doesn't mean shit to you, even though it's picture perfect. Like, nobody cared that player models got better from UFC 4 to UFC 5, even though they're fantastic now. Nobody cares. You have a few people that'll give them the props, like, man, this player model is like really good. This one looks good. No, you just mostly have complainers, right, about what alter egos came out. This, that, and the other. Nobody mentions, you know, how good this, that. And I'm not saying that they deserve that praise, but then again, it's talking about, man, like, let's focus on the stuff that's actually going to change the game, not stuff like animations. And that's my opinion on it. Now, the last thing that I wanted to say as far as the video, I do have one hope. I have one hope. Based off of this video, okay, I do think there's a small chance, unless they had altered like the damage or just made it so he would get knocked out after like some type of coding, might be a chance that this points towards higher vulnerability. You know, the fact that they were able to make that replay that way. My guess is that they just kind of programmed it so it would have that knockdown animation with that hook, you know, whatever. But one can only hope that they fix vulnerability, you know. But that's another thing that I think is a positive from it. Because I don't want to just sit here being a Debbie Downer, but I mean, man, I'm being honest. When I'm excited, I'm excited. Y'all know it. But what else is exciting from what I've seen in this? Man, I know it's literally 3 seconds, but nothing else, man. Like I said, I don't care for animations because you all deep down don't really care for them either. You know, it's just another thing to complain about, I feel like, for a lot of people. And we just need to be focusing on the stuff that's actually going to make people stay on the game. Like a good, fun game. There's a balance between sim and fun. I do believe that. You know, something that makes people appreciate martial arts and be technical, etc. You know, so yeah, that's about all I can draw from the video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know. Do you think this is a UFC 6 leak? You know, as far as the animation, do you think that's UFC 6 footage? And then on top of that, do you believe that? What do you think the focus for the next game is going to be? Do you think this points towards a different focus on animations? What do you think, and how do you feel about my take, and what is your personal take? So, all right. Have a blessed day, and don't forget to like.